This is Audiobook Caboodle YouTube channel. Place for finest collection of audiobooks and novels.
Don't Marry by James W. Donovan, Section 2. Don't dally about proposing. What is it to ask a fine girl to marry you? The simplest, easiest thing on earth, if you strike while the iron is hot. Go about it sensibly. To begin with, you never expect much encouragement from a discreet maiden. She is in the background. Her promise is to be invited. She is not her own spokeswoman. Think of the embarrassment. I venture to say, if you like her, that you will say so. Often you may have told her how fine her eyes are, or how well you like her singing, or talking, and her company. But when you ask a simple question, you get down on your knees (they do it in novels, not in reality) and beg for it. Nonsense! Such a girl is unworthy. Begging is a silly fashion, seldom now indulged in, and all out of date, and no longer tolerated outside of novels and theatres. Use a little sense about it. Find out first if you have the right one, then settle the matter in one of 5 ways. First, in the parlour. Don't propose in church, or at a donation, or in a crowd, or on a street car, or while the horse is prancing. Get up your resolution at the right moment, and say, "Do we understand each other, Clemantha?" Then, if she doesn't, explain it to her in a sensible fashion, and in little short words that cannot be mistaken. Give her time, if necessary. The second way is on a fine walk or drive. Would you like to walk always? Or, if you were to choose whom you would walk with forever, who would it be? She will say, "I don't care to be so personal." Certainly then you may be more explicit. Third, suppose you are to separate, what a grand opportunity! See that you improve it earnestly. To tell a girl that she is fairer than flowers, clearer than coffee, and sweeter than honey is old, very old, and uncalled for. Tell her she is what she is, and you like her with all her surroundings, that you can better her condition sometime. Dwell on the sometime. Be honest about it. If she doesn't love you, let her love someone else, and you will be surprised to find how many pure and beautiful beings there are all around you, holding their fingertips to hide a smile of welcome, and ready, yes, Edgar, eager to mate with one worthy, and ready to marry them, for marriage is a natural hope of every right-minded woman. This is a fourth method. Read aloud of characters like Arden, Romeo, or Abelard, or Paul and Virginia, and make your comments audibly. You will not be long in tracing a conclusion. Be a little ingenious about it. Find out through your sister. Prepare the way, and don't ask until you find she is unpledged, remember, or at least tarry long enough to be reasonably certain. And what if refused? No harm done. Like the German's sugar, the other pound is just as good as the first one. One man I know drew off a list of all his acquaintances worthy of marriage, and went about it like a regular wheat buyer. He was a bachelor, of course, and very eccentric. Coming to the first, he explained his object, concealing all names, but saying she was first of a long list furnished him by a friend. Each one was first, always. Then he would say, "I will give you a week to consider it, and no harm done. If not then, I must pursue my list further." Of all the sold-out men, he was sold the cheapest. He married a whole family. The first 2 were disgusted, the third or fourth accepted. This looks too much like a purchase and sale, and don't try the method. The last way is sensible, by writing. Many a proposal is in writing. Even in that be a little guarded. Once a no, yeses come with reluctance. It is best not to give one an opportunity to say no, but to parry long enough to test the opposition. If it were a racehorse to buy, a house to contract for, or a block to purchase, it would not be very hard to strike a bargain. So that once finding form, character, fitness, affection, desire to be mated, go about the rest by a direct and sensible method, and don't wear out the gate hinges, burn out all the oil, weary the old folks, or turn grey with anxiety, but do it. Don't marry a drunkard. He will promise, by all that's good, great, and holy, to reform. How many more like him have made just such promises? He can't keep such a promise if he would. Make him reform a couple of years at least on trial, before you marry him. It will be time enough then to risk a life partnership, to chain your hopes to an unfortunate creature whose sense and judgment are corrupted, not by will, perhaps, but by habit stronger than reason. With most men this habit becomes a desire. They are bound to feed the fire that burns them. They have no voice in the matter, and cannot, if they would, break the strong fetters that bind them in irons, like the prison bars confine their victims. It's a sorry picture to behold a fair young girl chained to a being with a will all lost and debauched in appetite for drink. A section of the land of departed evil spirits can only equal her daily misery. Children must bear it, friends submit to it, and all of character, sweetness of temper, or refinement in one's nature will revolt at the coarseness of the wrecked and wretched career of a drunkard's life. He is an object of pity, and a being to be shunned in matrimony, no matter how many promises he makes, or how good he is otherwise. To avoid long sorrow, disgrace, and regret, avoid him. If you had 2 lives, and one to dispose of at any cost, mate with a drunkard and die 1,000 deaths. Your health, peace, and happiness will go with his. Art thou mated with a clown, then the baseness of his nature will have weight to drag thee down. Such a man will kill his wife, burn his own child, sacrifice everything on earth when scourged by this degrading passion. More could be urged, but let the starving families, the criminal courts, the idiotic children tell the rest. The story is too dreadful to dwell upon. It is monstrous. Life becomes a burden, and death a sweet release from such a cross. Of all the matches on earth, the most to be dreaded and avoided is the drunkard's wife. Don't marry a fast man or woman. Something tells us that black logs will darken the whitest garments. The edge of virtue once dulled is never quite so keen afterwards. It may be very well to speak slightingly of wild oats, but who cares to know that their oats are a second crop? Who is willing to believe that they are the last resort of one who has pleaded and pledged to hundreds or even dozens before her, or waits an opportunity to make as many more pledges as occasion may offer? Fast men are not satisfied with one vice merely, but follow on to many. They may drink, gamble, sport, and venture, and step by step indulge in the kindred vices of lewdness, till disease shall fasten its clutches in their burning blood and run in their veins for a lifetime. They are rarely satisfied with one home, one wife, and one family. Don't marry a foreigner, one who comes from a faraway country and returns to it. It is very uncertain. Think ahead carefully. The new and strange customs of his country may and may not be congenial. They may be a dreary dream of home and early separation. Think of the ties of friendship, the cords of affection, twined and woven around your nature. Ties that are not severed without many pangs of sorrow. Life is a short strange journey, and make it when we will, or where we will, it is pleasant to be made with company. Those who know us best will love us most if we deserve it, and few will continue on in friendship long after we go to strange and unknown countries. A stranger neighbour soon comes nearer than a long absent friend whom we never hear from. Don't marry a spendthrift. The habit of living is formed early. Either one is bent on rising or going lower. As water seeks its level, so men seek their ambition and find it. Prosperity comes not on silver trays, ready-made and ready for use to everybody. Most men work for it, strive for it, and deserve it. The sons of the rich, who inherit property and have formed the habit of useless spending, are a little bit lower than the poor. It is not disgraceful at all to be born poor, but to become so after once being rich, and that through reckless spending, is a dishonour to anyone. One thing we can be proud of, said Ingersoll, we've made some improvement on the original implements and the common stock. A young man who lives on his father's earnings has very little to boast of, but one who squanders his inheritance in riotous living is an object of contempt and ridicule. He is one of the old man's pensioners, said a business man lately of a rich man's son. But for his father's thrift he would be a beggar. He lives like a refined beggar on the food furnished by another. What a brilliant genius he is. Don't marry your cousin. It may be very tempting. Relatives are often warmly attached to each other from long and intimate acquaintance. Remember that constantly thrown in each other's society will often create such attachments. With many persons, marriage of blood relations will more or less lead to deafness, blindness, or deformity. It may skip one generation and find another. It may result in disease and weakness. It may be all right, but 7 to 8 it is risky and uncertain, and you can't afford to be uncertain in such matters. End of section 2.
This was Audiobook Caboodle YouTube channel presentation. We hope you enjoyed listening. For full audiobook, check out our playlist section. Links in description below.